You're listening to the New World to Go podcast with your hosts, Redbyrd and BDLG.
Hello and welcome to another episode of New World to Go. I'm your host, Redbyrd, and with me is BDLG. Bordy, the final days of beta are upon us. Actually, if you're listening to this, this is the final day of beta. So bittersweet, man. It's been a ton of fun.
That it is, but the end of beta just means that launch is getting ever so closer, man. I am very sad to see it go though, because it was an incredible time. But now we have launch to look forward to, man, and it's soon, bro. It's soon.
It is, man. It is actually technically 30 days away, dude. So as we record this, so tomorrow you have less than 30 days to look forward to the launch of New World. We're gonna get into some of our favorite beta moments tonight, and some topics I think that are pretty prominent in the community about the beta and potentially concerns or changes for launch. So first and foremost, guys, if you haven't left us a 5-star rating on iTunes, if you're listening to iTunes or Spotify or whatever, please do that. It really does help us get found in the directory. And we're just very appreciative of that ranking. So please, if you wouldn't mind. Also, New World fans, guys, we have been putting up a ton of stuff over there. The database is in the process, or Taken is in the process of rehauling the database and making it more user-friendly and more pretty. So keep your eyes peeled over there, and we're going to continue to put up guides until launch to get you guys ready for all things New World there. So definitely go check out the website. We appreciate you. We've had just an overwhelming amount of support through the beta from the website and the podcast and everything. We're just very thankful for you guys continuing to support us, our Patreons especially. You guys, it means the world to us. We've been working hard on this for over a year now, and it just feels good to know that there's people on the other end that are getting use and enjoying the content that we put out. So thank you guys very, very much.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo that sentiment 100%.
All right, guys. So let's hop right in here. New World beta closing. So again, this is the last day of beta. Bittersweet moment. But we're going to kind of go through some of the happenings in beta that I guess a lot of people are maybe enjoying or concerned about from now until launch, just to talk about. First and foremost was, I think, and this is kind of a very positive thing to me, and that was the settlement board nerfs. Everybody was complaining about them. It was like the most efficient way to level. They already have drawn attention to that and fixed that. And this says a lot about the team, Bordy. They are very, and plugged into the community, very willing to listen to feedback. And, and this was something that they, they noticed and took care of right away, Bordy. So what's your take on the efforts of obviously nerfing the boards, and then also, just their general, their general willingness and prompt behavior in addressing these issues?
I thought it was pretty good, man. I mean, it's nice to see that they at least addressed it during beta. It was kind of a bigger issue, and it got worse as beta went on, for sure, because people found out that it was an exploit, then people started doing it. And then there was another exploit where you could just log out of the game and then log back in, and your town missions would reset. So there were people just abusing that as well. So there were a lot of kind of loopholes found during the beta, which I'm glad they were found during the beta, because that's what a beta is for, right? It's to test those things, figure out what's going on, and to fix them. So it's no fault of the people who were finding them and using those, or maybe even exploiting those, dude. Like,
well, maybe the 100th time they turned in,
yeah,
maybe that was their fault, but yeah. I mean, finding it was definitely.
Yeah, it is. But I do like the way they addressed it. And I've seen a lot of some negative feedback about the way they worded that statement, which you're going to see that negative feedback no matter what. People just like to nitpick things. But I thought the statement they put out about it was very good. And I also appreciate the fact that they talk about Sorry, that comment in chat just made me laugh a lot. They talk about rolling people back during launch. I appreciate that. I don't know about anybody else. There's a lot of people that are like saying, "Oh, I don't like the way they worded that" or whatever. I appreciate that, man, because if there's somebody out there using exploits and doing things that are affecting the way they level and they're bugging the system or not playing the game kind of as intended, and they just find this loophole in some kind of leveling system, dude, I'm all for them rolling that back and saying, look, listen, man, at the end of the day, you know if you're using an exploit or not, right? Like, that those town project boards were not meant to level up that way. That, and you just continue to exploit it. That's fine. Like, it's in the game, and if you find it, do it. But if you get caught and you get rolled back, don't be mad that you got rolled back, because that what you were doing was not what you were supposed to be doing. So I like the way they address it, man. I'm 100% okay with them rolling back people for doing those things.
Well,
no doubt.
Yeah. So real quick, and this is kind of, I guess, the next topic. So we'll roll right into there. This is what the New World's official statement on these exploits, or their efforts or attentiveness to exploits and bugs that allow players to get some sort of advantage on other players by using these things. They said they mentioned that obviously they've had a lot of server problems, and most of the beta efforts were trying to stabilize those servers, and they felt like they're in a very good place right now. As far as the performance and everything goes, obviously they'll continue to improve upon that and optimize things to make gameplay even more smooth before launch. But they said that at launch, their primary efforts are going to be making sure that they get on top of bugs and exploits that are like game breaking and that give players advantage. And like Bordy said, and I do appreciate the firmness here. They threatened, if people continue to take, advantage of these exploits and stuff to gain advantage, that they would potentially, be resetting their accounts or rolling them back on XP as far as where they were before they started using the exploits. Which again, MMOs, just like, they had that big pay to win discussion. And the reason no one likes pay to win is because paying to win gives other players an advantage by spending real life money. This is the same concept, essentially. People are trying to get advantage by taking advantage of something in the game that wasn't intended. So it's the same like mindset, right? You're just getting ahead of other players, and they don't want that. And they are going to take every effort to make sure that that's not the case at launch. So they'll be paying more attention and obviously fixing things, hot fixing things as soon as possible, and be rolling people back if they took too much advantage. And again, guys, it's like duping or things like that aren't intended in the game. That's what we're talking about. Not that you spent 18 hours grinding, mobs or something. They're talking about things that are more severe than that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you clarified that. Like, there are things in the game, man, at the end of the day, man, players know whether or not they're abusing a system or not. People are smart. They understand what's right and what's wrong, and if you're abusing a system or not.
Some people are smart, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the vast majority of people are going to understand if that system is not intended to be used that way, and then they're using it. And once it causes an uproar, people know, man, they just know. And so I think it's totally fine that they're going to roll back people. I do appreciate that firm stance as well. Like you said, I like that, man. And I hope that they continue to take those actions moving forward, because that keeps the health of the game healthy, right? Like, you don't want those things to happen and then not take any stance or action on them, because then that just weighs down the other players' feelings, and then players are just going to leave in droves if those things start happening and no action is taken. So they have to do something, and I like the approach here.
Yeah, for sure. So here's another interesting thing that they discussed in this post, and that was the server merging. They mentioned that this is something they need to test before launch, obviously. And we know, like, this has happened for the preview event and the beta. They've had to open up more servers than their initial launch lists because of the influx of people. Obviously, servers get full really quickly, and you don't want the queues to be like 2 or 3 hours for people to get in. So, they open up the servers, but then at some point, the player base settles down a little bit. And then you don't want to have dead servers or servers that only have like 2 or 20, 30 people on them at all times. So they talked about practicing server merging, and here's the interesting, and this is interesting because I think it's something that needs to be discussed. is this is how they were doing it. They were rolling one server into another. The server that got rolled into the other server lost all of their progress as far as settlement ownership and those sort of things. Just map ownership type stuff was rolled back. Their players kept the same amount of XP, possessions, and all of those things. So Bordy is interesting to talk about, I think, because I think it's something that needs to be looked at and something that needs to happen, because again, you're going to want to make sure that servers are alive and active and have a decent amount of player base. What do you think about this server merging and the I guess the current process that they're going about it?
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough thing to figure out, I think, because I can see how people would be upset if their server gets merged and they lose their progress for fighting the wars and everything they've worked for settlement wise, and they lose that progress. But I'm not sure how else you do it, right? I'm glad they tested server merging during the beta. That's something that desperately needed to be tested, in my opinion, because what's going to happen on launch, I think the game has so much hype right now. I think there's going to be a massive just flood of people on launch. And then I do think the game will kind of even out at some point, and then some servers will need to be merged. Now, whether that's a month down the road, 2 months, 3 months, who knows? But I do think at some point that'll have to happen, right? So I think that's fine. But jeez, dude. But sorry, the chat is on another level tonight. So I think the server merging testing is fine, but the way they go about it, like how else would you do it, man? Like if you're taking one server merging them into another, how else would you do it? Would it be more fair to wipe the progress altogether and then just say, okay, here's nobody owns any settlements, and then you're all on an even playing field? Because then it's going to make everybody mad. Or the server that's getting merged, those people are going to get mad. Like I don't know how you go about. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is there. I think the approach they're taking is fine. I mean, I think if you're on a server that has low population, it gets merged with another one. It's just something you got to accept, and then you got to move on and then fight for your settlements or your territory again, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it would be better if they just said, okay, we're merging these servers and now it's just back to normal, free for all. And now you got to go pay your 100,000 gold or whatever to recap. But at that point, people are going to have 100,000 gold to go pay. So it's just going to get, I don't know. It's tough.
It is tough because what do you do to those guilds that spend $100,000 to get a territory initially? Obviously, they're always at risk of losing their territory to other people, but to have it taken away in that manner is kind of rough. I think it's also interesting, Bordy, and this is something that maybe could potentially cause problems, or maybe is part of the problem of needing these servers to be merged, is the cap or the supposed cap of active players. Now, they don't limit the amount of people that have a character on that server, but they do limit the amount of people that can play at one time, which therefore deters people from joining the server, right? If you have like a 3-hour queue from the jump, you're more likely to go ahead and start another character on another server, that maybe is less empty, especially if you don't have a company or someone like that to play the game with. You're more likely to just log in where you can. And so those people that are forced out of the initial launch servers are then forced back into those servers and then taking a hit as far as progression goes, which is kind of rough, if we're being honest. But again, I'm glad that they're testing this out during the beta to figure out, get feedback on it and to figure out what's the best way to do this in the future. Because I think we all know that it's probably going to eventually happen. Server merging and reconstruction happens all the time. The difference in New World than other MMOs is that there is some progression to be gained on a server for a company and an individual. So it'll be interesting to see how they have to handle that in the future.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the right answer is there, man. I think any which way you go about it, you're going to make somebody mad, and it's just going to be. I think that's just going to kind of be a part of it. And if you're unlucky enough to be on one of those servers that gets merged, it just kind of is what it is. Because I don't know what the right answer would be there, and I don't think anybody does, if we're being real honest. Like there may be some ideas out there, but I think any which way you look at it, it's going to be a sticky situation.
Yeah, because, and then you just got to think, well, what's more fair? Like making someone, making all the guilds have to pay $100,000 to get the territory back, or setting them in a state where they now have to win a siege to get a territory back. The new people.
Which may be the way to go. Maybe if you merge a server, you just set them all up for war or something. I have no idea. I don't know. It's going to be a tough one for them to figure out. But
for sure, and
hopefully we won't have to worry about that for a long time. Hopefully the population stays steady for a really long time, and server mergers won't have to happen for several months down the road.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad they're bringing it up in beta. It was very good to have that foresight to know that that's going to be an issue at launch potentially. So
yeah.
They're going to start the conversation now. We have a month to figure that out. So, the forums I think will stay open from beta to launch. So, if you guys have input or something that you want to add to that conversation, hop over to the forums and start talking, because the devs are in there all the time having discussions. And I think it's a good thing to get figured out as a community of what would be the proper way to handle that as they have to merge servers in the future. One more thing here about the beta, and this is about the cash shop and the items involved in it, and it was the Rainbow Tiger Helm Decor Pet. This was something that, I've heard people say it's like immersion breaking or whatever. It didn't go well with the rest of the game's like flavor. I think after the Rainbow Tiger, they put up some sort of like neon bunny. So seems to be their, again, to pay cash for these things, they want to make them like unique or stand out. But I think there's some complaints there about how much they stand out as opposed to the rest of the, environment in Aeternum. So what are your thoughts on items like the Rainbow Tiger Pet being part of the cash shop?
It's tough, man, because they definitely are. They definitely don't fit the aesthetic of New World at all. I think the tiger in and of itself looked kind of cool, but whenever you put it in your house in New World, like I was walking past a couple of them, and you could just see them stacked up on the balcony of a house in Everfall or wherever I was walking around, and they just completely looked out of sorts, man. So I don't know. I'm not digging the real cartoony things in New World. I hope they stick more to the aesthetic that we have going with New World right now. I think that's what people like. I think that's what draws people to it. And maybe as the game evolves over time, maybe something like that could be incorporated in. But I think right now it's a little bit too early to throw in some kind of rainbow pet to the game. I don't know. I hope they don't go that route. And whenever you're walking by these houses, you just see all this crazy neon. It doesn't fit. And I hope they don't go that route, but we'll see.
Yeah. It's, here's the thing, man, is the cash shop, most of those items are for fun. It's a pet in your house that doesn't leave your house. We're not going to see, or at least right at launch, we're not going to see neon tigers running around in the world following players, which is would be a massive complaint. But, as far as like items that go in the home, obviously they can set them on their porch. And if they're winning the fashion war that is housing in the game, then you're going to see their neon pet as you're running through town. And I think that's where people, that's where people were starting to complain. But I don't know, man. They're just, I'm not a target audience of like neon pets, but I know they're out there, dude. And if they get to have fun buying neon pets, then I guess it's fine. I'm not going to, I didn't really care about it. I think it was a little odd for the first pet choice, but it is what it is, man. Just give me some undead stuff. If you guys let me have like an undead wolf or whatever setting on my porch, then I'll live next to the person that has the rainbow tiger on their porch happily, as long as I get like the undead stuff, the like bleeding, fleshy stuff. I'm all for that. And I think they will deliver on those sort of aesthetics too, but. I can understand, like we're living in like a Diablo Dark Souls type world, having a neon pet.
Yeah, and then you have rainbows and butterflies around in this. It just doesn't fit, man. And I think that's the complete. Just doesn't fit.
But you look at the Angry Earth and they're neon trees, so.
Yeah, I guess, but yeah,
we'll see.
Not my cup of tea, man.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of mixed reception of that. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes on launch and how the cash shop is and everything like that. There. Yeah. Real quick, let's go here first, Bordy. Some things that we'd like to see change before launch, or some feedback. Okay. On the podcast that we can give, as far as like the beta goes, and we'll open it up with an honest statement, dude. I don't know if the beta could have went any better. Like really, I think the beta was well received by a ton of people. The concurrent player base was insane. They peaked at like 200,000 people. Battle for New World was received well. Tons of streamers love the game. I've heard a bunch of big people. Tim, Shroud, Gathalion, who's moved over to Facebook Gaming, just that are like dead set to play the game on launch, and even mentioned. I've seen Gathalion mention that he potentially could be his new main game if the end game is good. So, again, this beta is extremely positive overall, and our effort here is not to be negative Nancy's, but just to kind of maybe touch on a point or two that are things that we can kind of see right now that we would like to see change before launch. So, Bordy, I'll let you take it away with your first.
So so I'll talk about kind of one of the biggest things that needs to be corrected or fixed, and it's the bug with the Great Axe. That's something they didn't handle during the beta, and they have to fix that before launch or it's going to be awful. That thing is nuts, man. Whenever you proc the charged heavy on the Great Axe, it hits twice. People were saying they thought it was a feature because of the charged heavy. I can tell you right now that's not a feature, man. That was 100% a bug. I tested it multiple times. The charged heavy is supposed to give you 160% damage. It did, but it also gave you 120% damage, which is the same damage as the regular heavy attack on that thing. So whenever you swung it twice, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, if you have the Great Axe in your hand, whenever you used your heavy attack and then you immediately queued up another heavy attack right after that, it would swing from right to left for your first heavy, from left to right with your second heavy. And on the second heavy, that's supposed to be your charged heavy. It smashed people twice. It hit you twice, hit you for the charged heavy and the heavy damage. And it was just incredibly strong. So that's one of the things they have to fix, but obviously that's just a bug. That's not any kind of big design issue or anything of the sort. I think the other thing they have to fix is obviously the way XP works with all these town missions and all that, which they have addressed during the beta. We just talked about all that stuff, but I think they have to get the XP correct. The way you level, the rate at which you level, all of those things I think are going to need to be looked at and fine tuned. And other than that, man, as far as like content goes, I think they're good on content for launch. I think they'll have to add a lot of content post-launch pretty quickly. Maybe a couple months in, they need to drop a new zone, maybe some new weapons. But I think for launch in terms of content, I think they're okay, man. Overall, I think it's solid.
Yeah, I think, to your point, a lot of the weapon balancing and stuff obviously will be completely different at launch. Even from alpha to beta, there was a lot of changes that they made even in that small amount of time. That helped balance the weapons, more efficiently. I know that the weapons that are strong in the beta now weren't necessarily, the top weapons in the alpha. And a lot of it has to do with the Great Axe bug, but the Great Axe, I think, is in a really good place as far as strength goes. It's a very strong weapon in general, but once they fix that heavy, it'll definitely bring it into balance, I think, or at least it'll still be a top tier weapon, but maybe not like, I think right now it's in a tier of its own. And I think potentially other weapons could share that tier if the double hit on the heavy isn't, so prominently, dealing massive amounts of damage. I've died to like one hit before on a higher level, someone higher level than me come up and smack me for almost all my health with that heavy attack. So that's the problem. One of the things I think I would recommend, and I think is just important, and I mentioned this in our last episode, is just some sort of in-game PvE experience like a raid. And I don't think that's going to happen at launch, but I think it's something that they're working on and that they need to get in soon after launch, because as we've kind of witnessed, and this is a whole nother discussion, but people are going to get to end game within a week or two. Like that's just how MMOs are. You have people that can play like 16 hours a day, and you can't balance around those people either. So one of the things you're going to need is some sort of raiding experience that keeps people like, a weekly login to go and set up the raid and get your drops for that week. Some sort of repeatable content that keeps players logging in for, week after week. And I think that's, something that, as a theme box MMO, it's just got to be delivered upon because there's just a strong amount of people in the PvE community and the MMO scene that really do need that like weekly raid that they look forward to with their 12 buddies or I'm looking to see what I get for my drop this week. And those things are like classic MMO things at this point. And New World, I think, knows that, and they have to deliver upon that at some point. That's my only, takeaway from the beta is I think that they're leaps and bounds above where they were in the preview event a year ago. And I think they're, like you said, they're pretty good on launch as far as like, content and everything like that goes. But soon after launch, like you said, they're gonna have to add new content, and I think the raid has to be one of those things. If not the first update, definitely they have to tease it and release it in the second update, because those people that rush to end game, they're going to be looking forward to that, and that's just something that I think hopefully I would almost be 100% sure they're working on, and I think it's something that people are looking forward to see, is like what is that pinnacle experience in New World going to be in the PvE part of it. So
yeah, I think for sure after the first expansion, maybe the second, we'll get some kind of raid, and then we're going to get some new weapons, new zones. And I think they're working on those things. I can almost guarantee they already have a roadmap mapped out, because we've seen teasers and leaks of other things that have come out already, the map and other weapons and whatever. So we know there's things out there. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it's a raid. I don't know that it's something that has to be there on launch, because like you said, you can't balance around those people that are just going to no life the game and get to max level in a week or whatever. That's not the mass majority. That is not the vast majority of your player base. The vast majority of your player base are going to be able to sit down and play for a couple hours a night. And you don't want to make it to where those people cannot compete at the in-game content. You don't want to push out so much content that those people get felt left in the dust, because you're catering to your high-end people, because those aren't the people you should be. It's like a balancing act for every MMO. So we'll see what happens there. Somebody did mention in chat about the performance for sieges, Red, and I think that is something they absolutely need to nail for launch, because it was a problem. I know the 2 sieges we had, I lagged out mid siege in both of them. I didn't lag out of the siege, but I got to a point where everybody was stuck. No one was moving. I was in there swinging my hatchet around like crazy, and I couldn't hit anybody because they were just sitting there, and I wasn't doing any damage. And then I respawned. I was dead. Whenever it stopped lagging, I was dead, and I had to respawn back. And I've seen a lot of people experiencing those things. So I think for launch, man, they just have to nail. They have to nail performance, number one. I think if performance is bad, then what sets New World apart from games like ESO that are out there trying to do large scale combat? Other than the combat in New World is a lot different, but ESO has had performance problems forever. And I think if they want to be a real contender here, they're going to have to fix those problems 100%. Like whenever you go into 50v50 siege, you're going to have a smooth experience. And I don't think a lot of people had that during the beta. So that's really the one big complaint I had during beta, I guess. Everything else was really good. I thought they had a solid beta. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, man. Hopefully we'll get that sorted out before launch.
Well, and the thing is, they've gotten a ton of data from this beta. A ton of people have been playing, giving feedback, showing bugs, showing that there are some performance issues. And really, overall, I think the servers held up pretty well for a beta. But like you said, the 50v50 thing is very prominent. It's like one of the main features in the game. It's how you win territory. It's how you... one of the biggest like PvP events in gaming as far as the New World scene goes. So it's something that they need to figure out as far as performance goes, because like you said, people have a negative experience and then they just don't want to do it at all. Right. And that's not something you want from like one of your main features in the game for sure. I didn't have a lot of lag. Obviously there's, some issues with like the player models desyncing from their activities. Like it just looks like they're standing around a campfire sometimes during the sieges. But as far as like my character moving around and attacking, like I didn't have any problems there. But I know a lot of people who have, and I've seen people, or I've watched streams that people like do, like you said, just lag out of the siege and then have to log back into the game to get into the siege. And that, when you're fighting for your team and you lose 5 minutes, that 5 minutes can make or break, your experience in the siege and maybe the overall outcome of the siege as well. So just some things that they obviously probably know they need to work on. And overall, I just think, Bordy, that, again, from a server side thing and the open world, dude, I've seen some pretty impressive things. So I think they could probably apply those things to the siege. The siege world as well, and hopefully at launch we'll be in a really good place.
Yeah. Open world was fine, man. I enjoyed the heck out of open world. We had a lot of fights where there was a lot of people around and everything was fine. There wasn't any lag. There wasn't any kind of desync or any weird issues. The fights went really well. And so from that standpoint, I think it was good. I think it's whenever we got in the sieges, it's just 50v50, all the particle effects, all of the siege weapons, everything going off at once. They're gonna have to get that nailed down.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, so our last moment here, Bordy, or our last conversation point on the beta will just be our favorite moments, dude. This is a chance to, because we're never gonna get to relive this part of our life, and then, I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but this beta is gone now, and now we're gonna be looking forward to launch, which is extremely positive. But dude, we've been waiting a long time for the beta. It's been a great time, dude. So why don't you real quick just relive the past 2 weeks of your life?
Man. I think the best part about this beta, hands down, was just getting to play with our company, man. Just getting to hang out with everyone. Although I didn't get to do that a ton because we're still pumping out content on a daily basis. We're still working on New World fans a lot. We still have our day job, obviously, and we're doing all this other stuff. So didn't get to play with them as much as I wanted to. But the nights that we were in there with just the whole company, and even the nights that I was streaming and we had just our group that we were running around with, it was so fun, man. And that was probably my absolute favorite part of the beta, was just being able to play with everyone from the Revenant and everyone from kind of just our Studio Loot community. It was incredible. It was awesome. And that makes me look forward to launch more than anything, is just getting to game with those people on a consistent basis over the next, hopefully over the next many years. I hope we can form a awesome community around Studio Loot, which we already have something amazing going there. But that was by far my favorite moment. In terms of like specific moments, there were several times where I had a lot of really, really fun open world PvP fights running around with just myself or a couple of other people. That was incredible. The open world PvP in the game is by far one of my favorite things to do. I absolutely love it, man. Just running around flagged, as long as you're not getting zerged down, which didn't happen that often, to be honest. There wasn't just tons of big groups running around, which I found awesome. And there was so much PvP during the beta. So many people were flagged. It wasn't hard to go find PvP. I was a little concerned about that going into the beta. Wasn't the case at all. There were tons. We had a lot of fun fights at the forts. That was an absolute blast. I really am happy they added that during alpha. So I remember being kind of skeptical about how that was going to work. I did see on other big streamers streams where they would take in just massive hordes of people, like Tim. Tim had just massive hordes of people running around after him the whole time. So they were getting kind of booted out and they didn't know why. Well, they're getting booted out because it's capped at 75 people in that area at once. And so they couldn't understand what was happening there. But I think it needs to be that way for server stability and performance. But those are my favorite moments, man. Just the open world PvP, hanging out with the company, just overall enjoying the game. And then some specific PvP moments that I had in there that are going to be memorable for a really long time. It was a good time, man. And then our last night in beta was a lot of fun too, running around with the company. We just did some silly shenanigans, and that was incredible.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. The open world flagging situation was way, way better than I thought it would be. There was always a fight to be had. Running around flagged up to do quests and stuff, it's almost guaranteed you're going to run into someone and get some PvP. That system is, and the fort, obviously some people have complaint about the capping of people in the fort, but I think it's got to be that way just to reduce zerging and server performance. Overall, though, I thought the open world PvP was a lot of fun. The scaling seemed to be working pretty well. I don't think that there was like a massive gap every time we would, fight people higher level than us, which was basically everybody, because we didn't do a lot of leveling. Like you said, we've been having to work on content and everything like that in the back end of stuff. And dude, it felt like I had a fighter's chance almost against everybody. So that felt pretty good. I think there was some complaining about potential, like it's not working in the favor of the higher level people. But from my experience, especially getting hit two-shotted by great axes a lot, that level 50 or 60 that was hitting me seemed to be working fine for them. So I don't know. Obviously, it's something that continues to be probably addressed and tweaked. And dude, overall, I thought it was great. And that's where my experience is coming to, just running around with the company, man. This is our first opportunity to really get everybody in our company in the Discord together playing the game. And we had a ton of fun. I met a lot of new people. I got to experience my first siege, which was dope. I've never got to do a siege before. So doing that in the beta was a ton of fun. We got to do 2, and I learned a lot, and I love the sieges, man. It's a ton of fun, even like with the performance issues. I still had a blast in there. It's just cool to like put your company or put your territory on the line against another 50 people, and whoever wins it takes it. I think that's going to be a really fun experience for a long time, because you're always going to want to keep your territory. So dude, I overall, like, again, I don't think the beta could have went any better. And I know that they'll continue to work and tweak things between now and launch, and we'll have hopefully a more polished game when that comes. And yeah, dude, it's been a ton of fun, man. And I can't express that enough. I'm so happy for the New World team. I'm just, again, blown away by all the support we've had on the website and for the podcast and the Discord and everything like that. It's been a ton of fun, man. Overall.
Yeah, it's insane, man. Our Discord is 3,600 members strong now, which is absolutely bananas. It's been an incredible journey so far, and I'm looking forward to launch, man. We're just a couple weeks, well, I guess right at a month away, and man, I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
For sure. All right, well, let's round the show off here with our company of the week, and that is the Witchers.
Yeah, man. So the Witchers, the region is NA. Their server is undecided for launch. Their faction is Covenant. Oh, man. Language is English, focus PVX, size 26 to 50. They are currently recruiting. And it says they are recruiting the Covenant for NA West. So they don't have a specific server, but the region is going to be NA West. So they have a core group of players that together they have played the preview. They're going to work together to progress and enjoy fights in PvP, PvE. They were the top Covenant company on their server during the preview under the former name, the Covenant, and they were able to take and hold Windsward. So they actually had a territory during there, which is a big deal. That's pretty cool.
They just recently updated this.
They did. Yeah, they chose Covenant because it is the least populated. So that means more enemies, more fights. That is one strategy to take for sure. So it says their plans are to take and hold Windsward again right away and hang their gold banner for all to see. And then they have a list of kind of requirements for people to join their company. And then they have their Discord listed at the bottom. And of course, we'll make sure we list all of their information everywhere this podcast can be found, on YouTube, on Apple, on Spotify, everywhere it can be found. You'll be able to click the link to New World Fans and check out their company listing. So go check out the Witchers.
For sure. We had a couple of Covenant mad at us last night, and our company,
yeah, we did.
We were dancing naked in their churches, and they were they were not a fan of that behavior in there. But we're not going to apologize to you guys. You're heretics. So it is what it is. We're trying to save the world of Aeternum one naked body at a time. So there we go. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening again. The amount of just support we've had and positive feedback we've had during the beta is really something more than we could ever wish or hope for. So we're just very thankful for you guys. And we're thankful so much for your guys' patronism, listening, downloading the podcast every week. And then if you wouldn't mind, please, leaving a 5-star rating. Again, it's going to help us help other people find us as we go into launch. And we just look forward to continuing to putting these podcasts out for you guys every week. And we just appreciate you guys. I've probably said that like 30 times this episode, but it's the truth, it's the truth. We gotta keep repeating it. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks again for listening. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you on another episode of New World to Go.